Okay, the real estate sector seems to be somewhat, is in demand at this point of time. A lot of news coming in, and one developer in particular is in news, and that is the Lodha developers. Lots of news coming in terms of what's happening as far as their business is concerned. Now, what has happened is that Moody's has come out with a report on Lodha developers, in which they have changed the outlook from to a negative this time around. We'll get in more details on why Moody's has done this. Saranga Ranasinghe, she is the Assistant Vice President and Analyst at Moody's. She joins us. Good morning, Saranga. Thank you so much for coming in. Just a gist on why you have managed to downgrade, cut the notch of Lodha's developers. What's the rationale?
Sure. Good morning and thank you for having me. So we have affirmed the B2 rating on Lodha developers, but we've changed the outlook from stable to negative. And the rationale for this change in outlook is pretty much driven by the weakening in its liquidity profile. And this is because of weaker than expected operating sales, but more importantly, it is because of the delay in execution of their asset sales that they've identified in both India and London to address the refinancing of the upcoming debt maturities.
Saranga, the other thing that we want to talk about is that while the outlook has changed, is there any possibility that the rating may be downgraded at a later stage, or you're feeling pretty confident about the current rating?
So when we change an outlook to negative or even positive, what we're trying to do is give an indication of the direction the rating is headed. An outlook is usually for around 12 to 18 months. But in Lodha's case, because there's a very near refinancing risk, the bond is maturing in March 2020. We will be monitoring this rating very closely. We'll be looking for any progress on asset sales, and at the same time we'll be looking at cash collection in London in order to address the refinancing of the loans there as well. So I would say typically a negative outlook would be for a 12 to 18 month period, but here we are going to be watching this very closely over the next 5 to 6 month period. But if Lodha is able to carry out the asset sales, shore up liquidity to address the refinancing risk, the outlook could change back to stable.
Saranga, has Lodha done anything in the near term that gives the sense that they will be able to meet their debt obligation, or is that a risk that you're factoring in terms of a default?
Okay, so I think we need to take a step back. When we talk about Lodha's refinancing risk, we're talking about their debt in London and the US dollar bond that they have taken on. So their debt in India, even though there's a lot of short-term debt maturities, we believe Lodha has very good access to funding in India, and they will keep refinancing this debt as they have been doing all along. But the concern is when it comes to that debt in London. So there's a piece of debt that's coming due, a construction facility coming due in December of this year, and we believe Lodha has done enough sales at the project to repay this facility. And now the concern becomes, will they have enough funds to address the 324 million bond that's coming due in March 2020? Lodha has announced that they are in the process of selling 28% equity stake in their London projects. This should bring in some money, and they also have identified a few assets that they can sell in India to shore up liquidity to address the bond that's coming up. So they have a few options, but the risk is that we're getting closer to the bond maturity, and we want to see some traction when it comes to asset sales and shoring up liquidity.
Saranga, have you spoken to Lodha developers? What's the response that they have given in terms of their liquidity situation? Do they believe that they will be able to match up and repay this?
Yeah, so we are in constant touch with the company. The company is executing the plan. They are going through a few options. We believe the company has a few options available to them. So they're going through the options. It's just we want to see some traction and funds in the bank pretty much to address the refinancing risk.
And my final question, Saranga, is that according to your experience and your seeing of how the real estate situation is there in India, which is definitely slow, and probably in London, do you think that selling 28% stake in a particular project and selling some projects in India, Lodha will be able to garner the revenues needed?
So the 28% stake sale they have already announced, and that's in the process right now. The assets that they have identified in India are actually commercial assets. The real estate, the residential real estate sector has, as you said, has been quite slow, but the commercial real estate sector has been doing quite well in India. There has been a lot of demand for commercial buildings, especially in Mumbai. So we believe that they will be able to monetize those assets, and at the same time they have completed construction at a lot of projects in India as well. So cash collections are actually now at the highest level we've seen in India, and at the same time they should start collecting cash in London as well, because they have finished one project and they are already in the process of handing over. And the sales that they've made up to now will cover the construction facility there. So any sales that they do over and above what they've done now should be excess funds that's available to the company to address their other refinancing needs.
Okay, Saranga, we'll leave it at that. Many thanks for speaking to us. This is a developing story, and obviously, once time passes, we'll definitely get in touch with you again to gauge how the situation at Lodha pans out. But many thanks for speaking to Bloomberg Quint, and all the best going ahead.
Thank you very much.